So now let's take a moment to talk about the achievement targets. The achievement targets are the most important first step because we need to define very clearly the ends or where we're going with our assessment. And using the new taxonomy, we have these 6 outcomes or 6 objectives. Clearly, we have a good match with remember because that is exemplified by the recall of facts, like what are the years of the Civil War. But then we have the other 5, which are objectives which call for the transfer of knowledge. Really, you're using it for a particular situation. Stiggins calls many of these reasoning targets, and I think it's also that's a good way to capture that. To understand, to apply, to analyze, to evaluate, and to create. Now, selected response does not match all of those targets. The targets that I think are the best match with selected response, and this is backed up by literature from Stiggins to the Anderson and Krathwohl taxonomy, as well as Lynn and Gronlund, that the remember and understand and analyze categories fit very well. And you can see the ones that I've selected within those: recall, interpret, exemplify, classify, infer, compare, and differentiate and attribute. Those are the targets that I see as the best match with selected response. Now that means that targets like evaluate and create and implement are not a good match or are a less desirable match when you're thinking about selected response. Hence, we need those other assessment methods. But let's go look at that production process. So let's take a look at the production process for a selected response test. Now, I know that this is a daunting task, but it's best begun with a plan. It's surprising to see how many people actually begin their experience in developing a test by simply trying to write items and by administering the test. What you want to do is be very careful in trying to get a blueprint of your test clearly specified before you do your item development. And once you do your item development, then you can check for item quality. Once you've done that, you've really organized your achievement targets and interpreted those achievement targets. And then you move on to the implementation and evaluation phase, where you administer the test and revise the test. Now, this test production process is an adaptation of many models, and one of which I've just kind of finished myself for this presentation. It begins with this step, the blueprint.